almost a third of Finland's energy is from nuclear power. When you get a situation, as has happened in Japan, what is the feeling of people in Finland? I know normally they're actually very pro-nuclear power, but what's the feeling there at the moment?
So I think that the situation, thinking that geographical circumstances is very different in Finland, because we have the basic rock, which is very stable. In that way, we are not expected to be in any way in the similar situation what now in Japan. But what I have said all the time, that we have to take into account not only the geographical situation or what's concerning our basic rocks, but also the society. Of course, the Finnish society is in that way a little bit similar with the Japanese, that it's well organized, it's very stable in such a way. We have all the time said that according to the Kyoto Protocol, we have to do everything possible in order to be cooperative with being against the climate warming, but the nuclear power is not a miracle key for the future. That's why we have also intensified very much in renewable energy resources, and also to develop what to do, how to be an effective and efficient in all forms of the energy. So in that way, I don't think there will be bigger changes concerning the popularity of the nuclear power, but as I said, it has been extremely popular, but it has been accepted in the frames of the Kyoto Protocol.
Now, you've got 4 nuclear reactors, and a 5th, which is indeed the world's largest reactor, is under construction. With the events that are happening in Japan, do you then review your safety policies?
I don't think so. You see that in Finland the system is in the hand of the parliament. We are facing the parliamentary elections in April, but I'm rather, how could I say, careful saying that it would change the discussions concerning the parliamentary elections. We have been all the time quite critical concerning the new nuclear power plants, and that's why all new nuclear power plants need always the permission by the parliament. So the government gives the proposal, but then the parliament will pass it. And of course, it's very interesting to see that if you see the difference between, for instance, Finland and our western neighbor Sweden, Sweden is theoretically, in principle, much more strict concerning the nuclear power, but we, in practice, have so far used less nuclear power than what the Swedish friends have done. So in that way, I would say that only concerning the newest nuclear power plants, we have been more pro-nuclear power than the Europeans have been more generally. But as I said, we don't think that it's a miracle key.
Now, Angela Merkel has already called on nuclear power expansion to halt. You have plans for 2 new nuclear plants. Will they still go ahead?
I think so, and what because they have already the permission, but what I think that will be, of course, taking into consideration very seriously is that everything what can happen in theory, plus a little bit more, can happen in practice. And that's why I think that everybody should, and I'm sure they will put even more and more attention in order to guarantee that in a case what has been not expected to come, even in such kind of the circumstances, the nuclear power could be as little risky as possible. I myself, I have been always, as is known publicly in Finland, quite critical concerning the nuclear power energy. But what I have said is that please don't panic, that all that has been known beforehand already. And so that's why we all have to invest much more in renewable energy resources and the new forms of the energy, and don't think that it's a naive thinking or utopian thinking, but to see that this is one of the reasons why we have to get rid of the so-called conventional forms and looking forward for the green economy.
Indeed. If I could move on to ask you a little bit about the Eurozone. There is a concern at the moment that it's developing into a two-tier region with those countries that are AAA rated, that are coming out of recession and they've got booming exports, and then also the countries on the periphery of Europe that are really struggling. Do they still both fit into a one-currency system?
So if we think the European market, so we need, of course, the transparent, fair competition markets for the European countries in EU. If we think the globalization and the global markets, we need to unite our European forces in order to be competitive. Both for these reasons, we need, of course, the common currency, and that's euro. So I still think that it's much better to defend the system we have worked with than to try to establish something new. We are ready to defend, to protect the euro, but what is quite clear and obvious, we will put more and more attention to that the system is transparent, based on confidence, and everybody has to look after their own economy and to follow the rules. And such kind of, as I call them, the good girls, like Finland or Germany, they are not, let's say that payers for the future all the time, because it's not only a question of the economics, it's a question also of the politics. So the European citizens, of course, they expect that there will be also the fair system inside of European Union and in Euro, and that's why we have to have a quite hard discipline also inside with social justice, of course, and to see that which role the state has and which role the private market actors have, and that all will play with the same rules.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for joining us today on The Last Word. Thank you.
Thank you.